Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Now, I'm definitely online. I have a lovely assistant with me today. Rosso is here. So, I started up running again recently, which some of you know, and I have done a little bit of damage to my knee. So, I'm going to be giving variations for knee injuries. I thought it was a good motivator for me to give adaptions for a practice. And the knee injury adaptions are also I'm giving shoulder and wrist adaptions as well. So this is for anybody who would need adaptions in their regular yoga practice, and this would be good to have in the library for people who need it. So today we'll just start in a seated position, and if you have the music on, if you could press pause just for the first couple of minutes. Now you can sit in a cross-legged position, and I recommend to sit on a block. And if you do have a knee injury, this might not feel very nice. So you've got a couple of options. You can have your knees bent, such as this, and just relaxing, or you can place a pillow under your legs so that your knees are bent and you feel supported. So in whatever variation that you've chosen, we'll just take a moment to close the eyes. And we'll start to focus on our breath. And we'll have a short little visualization to begin today's class. And visualization is also a powerful tool of meditation. I'd like you to focus on one thing you would like to manifest in your life. Maybe it's around your personal life or your business, your career. Maybe it's around family or friends. But finding that one thing that you would like to have more of in your life and to manifest. And now I'd like you to imagine that you already have this thing that you want. And how does that feel? Really imagine that you've achieved exactly what you have searched for, and really feel that in your body. There's been studies that have been done to show that if we are thinking in a visualization and when something really happens, there's very little difference in what is going on in the brain. So if we imagine the things that we wanted, that we've already achieved them, we can make that focus mean that little decisions we make throughout our days may take us towards that goal. Keeping really present and in that feeling, that visualization, being engrossed in how it feels to achieve that, what you search for. Every little detail you can muster. Bringing a little smile to your face, maybe. And we'll take our last 2 breaths, staying in that place. When you're ready, gently starting to blink open the eyes, and we'll remove the block if you had one under your glutes, coming into side bends. So the left knee comes in towards the leg and the right knee comes out. If you're adapting for a knee injury, I recommend placing a block under the knee to avoid for external rotation on the knee. You can press play on the playlist now if you're following along. Number 8, deep, brave, slow beat. Right hand on the inside of the leg, the left hand comes up, and exhale, we come over into our side bend. So keeping the toes flexed here in this version. And we're rolling so our armpit is going towards the roof. So we're not closing the shoulder towards the floor and closing the chest, but the chest is open as we exhale, fold over. And feeling this side bend through the left side of the body. If the neck feels a little sore, you can use that bottom hand to just cup the face and hold the weight of the head. If you do have a knee injury, always bending the knee a little bit is going to help you with supporting any injury in that area. Also keeping toes activated. We'll turn on these little muscles out the front of the shin to protect the knee. Another option is using a block underneath the knee as well, is sometimes a nice variation. Second hand position, left hand comes up and over, pointing towards the left side. Relax neck and head even more. Feeling this stretch through the side of the neck. Again, if you're feeling like you're not confident to let your head be heavy, you can hold the weight of your head to allow it to relax. Feeling this all down the left side of the neck and the shoulder. Third hand position, the left arm comes behind you to bind, or just rest the hand on your lower back, the top of your hand onto your lower back. So you can choose whichever variation feels better for you. If you're more open, maybe you can take the full bind as you roll over, or just resting the hand there is okay as well. Rolling that top shoulder back so that we're not closing the shoulder towards the floor, to start to work into the rotation of the shoulder. If your shoulder's sensitive, this is a great variation because it's not as deep into the rotation. If your shoulder's quite happy, you might be able to rotate into a full bind. Stay for one more breath here. And to come out of this pose, the right hand comes under the right side of the cheek, takes the weight of the head as you slowly come up and undoing the bind, coming back to center. Place the right hand behind the knee, bend the leg, and then swap over. So the left leg goes out and the right knee in. Again, if your knee is sensitive, just place a block under the quad there so that the knee isn't externally rotating. Left hand comes on the inside of the left leg, right hand comes up, and maybe reaching over to the left. Remembering that we're not warm yet, so to take it easy, to protect the knee, you can flex the toe, or if you have another block, which I don't have, you can actually place it underneath the knee on the left leg, which is actually really supporting of a knee injury if you want to try that. Again, if your head feels like it's too tight and not ready to release, you can place the hand underneath the left side of the cheek. I like to close my eyes here and focus on my breath. And just coming to that feeling, place of sensation in the body. Second hand position, the top hand comes up and over and points towards the right hand, but right side of the floor, but doesn't touch the floor. So extending through the fingers, rolling that top shoulder open, relaxing neck and head even more to the left. Seeing if you can release your jaw, create some space between the teeth. Just being mindful if you're rolling over and closing the chest to the floor, rotate up and side bend rather than a forward fold. Third hand position, the right hand comes behind you. Maybe you just rest the top of the hand on your lower back if you have a shoulder injury, or if you want to come for a full bind, you might be able to reach around and actually grab your thigh on the left-hand side, which is going to open your shoulder and deepen the stretch through the neck and the shoulder. So just taking the variation which feels good for you today. Staying here for one more breath. Left hand underneath the face, take the weight of the head and slowly come up with control. So we do that so we're not pulling using the muscle of that lovely muscle we've just relaxed and stretched out. Hand comes behind the knee. I do that to protect the knee from any stress after stretching. And we'll come down onto our backs we're working on a neutral pelvis here. So you'll need a block with you. If you don't have a block, you can use a lunchbox or something similar, which will work fine. So we're going to place the block underneath the sacrum, which is the bottom of the spine. So not on your lower back and not on your glutes. This is a low bridge. We're going to tickle the backs of our heels with our finger. And the point of this is the pelvis is neutral. So we don't have a posterior tilt, which is when we're in a back bend, or an anterior tilt. So we're going to reach the left leg up and have the shin parallel to the floor. Right hand goes into the top of the hip crease, so basically where your femur goes into your hip. And you're going to bend the knee in towards the hip or in towards your face while flexing your foot. Your pelvis stays neutral. And then inhale, we're going to come down. So this is just so you get used to a neutral pelvis. Right leg comes up, so you have the knee over your hip. Take a breath in. Left hand goes into that crease of the hip. Exhale, bring the knee in towards the face. Keep the toes flexed. The pelvis stays neutral. It doesn't move. Inhale to come back. Now we're going to do that without the block. So we're going to remove the block but stay low. So now we need to wake up the glutes. So we're going to squeeze the glutes, wrap them around the hips, tilt the tailbone gently towards the heels, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to lift the left foot up so that it's the knees over the hip, and we're going to exhale, bring it in towards the body. Inhale back to center. The right hand this time is going to go onto the top of the quad and push into the quad, and your knee and quad are going to push in towards the hand to create tension. So quad pushing into hand, head pushing into quad. Little pulses here are an option if you're feeling strong. So we're using that right glute here to pulse straight up towards the roof. Let's go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, bring that knee down, and then slowly bring upper back, middle back, lower back down for a moment. Little move of the knees from side to side. Let's do the other side. Take a breath in to prepare. Tickle the backs of your heels. Hips come up towards the roof. And we're going to bring a little lower into a low bridge. And we bring the right knee in towards the body. So shin parallel to the floor. Flex the toes. Exhale, we're going to bring the knee in towards the body while we're having a neutral pelvis. Exhale, come back. And then on the next exhale, we're going to come in. The left hand comes over and pushes on the right quad. And then you push the right quad towards your hand. So creating that tension. Should start to feel really warm here. Push into that left heel to keep glute activated. Little pulses if you're feeling strong. So I'm going to go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower the leg and slowly lower upper back, middle back, lower back to floor. Interlace hands behind neck and head. Elbows go up towards the roof. Shins parallel to floor. Flex the toes. Take a breath in. Exhale, bring head and shoulders up. We're going to make that right leg straighten to 70 degrees. So if 90 degrees is straight up, 70 degrees is about here. Inhale, we come back to center and shins parallel to the floor. Exhale to the other side. So this time we're going to have the left leg 70 degrees and keep the right knee. Inhale back to center and down. Exhale, other side. So straighten the right leg. Elbows go up towards the knees. Inhale down, bend both knees. Exhale, other side. 70 degrees in that leg. Inhale down. We're going to take it to the next level. Exhale, both knees go to left knee, which is bent. Straighten right leg. Inhale back to center. Exhale, both elbows to right knee. Straighten left leg, 70 degrees. Inhale back to center. Exhale, other side. Both elbows to left knee, straighten right leg. Inhale to center, lower down. Other side, exhale. Inhale down. Last level, we're going to exhale both elbows to left knee and then straighten the right arm over towards the left side of the mat. Really intensifying through the core. Straighten that right leg to 70 degrees. Yeah. Hold. Hand behind neck and head, back to center. Inhale, keep neck and head up. Exhale, other side. Straighten that left leg that the left hand goes towards the right side of the body to really engage the core. Inhale back to center. Keep the head and shoulders up. Exhale, other side. So straighten that right knee. And then the right hand goes over towards the left. Neck and shoulders stay as high as possible. Inhale to center. One last time, other side. Almost there. Inhale to center and down. Beautiful job. Hope you enjoyed that. A little rock and roll if you wish. If you're dealing with an injury, just rolling onto your side and slowly helping yourself up, coming into a tabletop position. What I like to do is have a pad that goes over the full width of my mat, so even when I'm in a tabletop, my knees are padded. So from here, come into an early dolphin. We're going to bring our shoulders down, grab our biceps, hands out. You can have hands interlaced. They say that's actually better for shoulder injuries. So let's have a play with that today. I normally have my fingers out flat. So with this one, I'm going to bend my toes, flex my feet, and I'm going to straighten my legs a little bit. If you have a knee injury, I keep the knees bent. So this is baby dolphin. Now, if you're in baby dolphin, the weight is back. If you want to make it harder, you bring the weight, you straighten the legs, and you bring the weight over the top of the shoulders. And maybe take this off because it's falling off. And, oh, it's attached to my microphone. I'll deal with that later. So straighten the arms. And from here, we're doing the same thing as what we were doing before. We're keeping the neutral pelvis. We're going to raise the left leg up. We're going to bend the knee and bring it in towards the body, but we're keeping the pelvis neutral, sucking up the ribs. Inhale to raise up. Exhale, bend the knee, bring it into chest. Now the pelvis doesn't move. Everything stays the same. Inhale up. Exhale into chest. One more. Inhale, rise. Exhale into chest. And down. Take a little break for a moment. We'll do the other side. So if you have a shoulder injury or knee injury, you're doing a baby version of this, which I'll do on the other side to show you. Prepare, grab biceps, hands out. Let's come up. Bending the knees if you have an injury. I'll do that on this side. And inhale the right leg up. Exhale, bend the knee in towards the body. Inhale to rise. Exhale, pelvis does not move. Bend the knee, bring it in. Inhale to rise. Exhale, bring it in. We have one more after this. Inhale to rise up. Exhale. And we gently come down. Moving into a downward facing dog. So hands are move a little further forward and then gently start to straighten the legs and pedal the knees out behind you while I fix my microphone. So I like to pedal out my legs here, and if you do it's really important to bend the knees. So I'll show on Ross, because I've got him right here. So if you bend the knees a little more, you can actually get your weight back into your legs rather than having all of it into your hands. So it's happier for your knees and also for your wrists. And if you move your down dog a bit longer as well, yeah, even more. And from here, I would have you even longer, even more. I'm like telling him off. And these nice bent legs, it's going to take that pressure off. Look between the hands. Option to step or to jump between the hands. For me with an injury, I'm just going to have little steps forward. Inhale to flat back. Exhale to fold. Bend through the knees and slowly roll up. Hands come through heart center, reach up. And exhale to fold. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, hands to floor. Step back into plank. So I have a few variations. A full chaturanga is for those of you who have been doing yoga for a while. I'm not going to be doing any chaturangas today. Keep holding your plank. So your options are to come from a high to a low plank. Otherwise, you're staying with me if you're doing a variation for knee and shoulder injuries. Inhale into an upward facing dog and exhale into a downward facing dog. And that's where I'll join again. So this is a good option if your knees are having some problems and your shoulders, but you want to get strength, because you're not going to be putting stress on your shoulder through increased range of motion, range of movement. So it's a good option if you're trying to build strength. Look between the hands, option to step or to jump, or little baby steps forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend through the knees, roll up. Hands through heart center. Breath out, roll forward. We bend the knees to protect the back and also is good for the knees. Inhale into halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, step back into high plank. So you can move through your vinyasa. You can lower your knees if you want to. You can stay with me in plank and try and hold this with strength. And when we come back onto down dog, the exhale, I'll join again. Look between the hands, option to step or jump forward. Inhale to halfway. Breath out to fold. Breath in, roll up. Breath out, hands to floor. Breath in, halfway. Breath out, hands down. Step or jump back into high plank. The other option, you move your vinyasa, or you can come into tabletop with me, and instead of a vinyasa, we just do a cat-cow. We inhale, look up, and we exhale, look towards the floor, and then we join again back into downward facing dog. So these are your options if you want to adapt your vinyasas or your chaturangas. Inhale, the right leg rises up. Exhale, sweep between the hands, come into a low lunge, rise up, crescent lunge. From here, we exhale into warrior two. Now, warrior two can be a little bit funny on the knees on this left side. So if you do have a knee injury, a great option is just staying in crescent lunge and working on strength. Push down the blade edge of that left foot, get deep into front knee, gaze towards front middle finger. Exhale, hands to floor. Step back into your plank. Option to do your cat-cow, which is what I'll do today. Otherwise, you'll go from high to low plank. Inhale to up dog and exhale to down dog. And I'll meet you back in downward facing dog. The left leg raises up. Exhale, sweep between the hands. Get low in the lunge and steady in the feet. Rise up, crescent. Get low into the hips if you want to work on that flexibility. Exhale, warrior two. We turn that back foot down, that front heel to arch alignment. If you have funny knee on this side, just stay in crescent lunge because it's not having any external rotation of the knee. It's a safer position. So just an option if you need it. Exhale, hands come down, frame the front foot, step back, move through your vinyasa, high to low plank. I'm going to hold a plank this time. Inhale to up dog and exhale to downward facing dog. That's when I join back. Inhale, right leg up. Breath out, step between the hands. Rise up, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Reverse warrior, reach forward and up and back. Maybe there's a bind if your shoulders are happy and if you're feeling flexy. Also watch that knee. You can stay in that crescent lunge if you wish. Exhale into triangle. So we straighten that front knee, tilt down to almost grab that front ankle and raise up through left hand. For knee injuries, you're going to bend your knees a little bit. This is going to support the knee with the muscle and you're not going to be locking out the joint. So just be mindful here. Also for neck injuries, you're going to relax that head. You're not going to gaze up towards that top hand. That right ear falls towards right shoulder. Bend a little bit more into that left knee if your knees are feeling any sensitivity. Bend even more through that knee and hands come down to frame the front foot. Move through your flow or your cat-cow variation, which is what I'll do for this one. Inhale, look up. Exhale, push away. And then we come back into down dog. Breath out. Breath in, left leg up. Sweep between the hands. Inhale, rise, crescent. Exhale, warrior two. Gaze to front middle finger. Reverse, flip front palm, reach up and back. Maybe there's a bind if your shoulders feel happy. Otherwise, a normal reverse is fine. Exhale, straighten that front leg, reach forward through the hand and tilt down into your pyramid pose or your trikonasana. So with this one, again, I've got that knee bent. This is my damaged knee. This is going to protect my knee with the little muscles that are going to support any ligament damage. Reach up through the top hand. Relax the left ear towards left shoulder. Have one more breath. Bend even more through that knee. Hands come down to frame the front foot. Step back, move through your flow. I'm going to hold plank this time. It's nice to do a variation of both. Inhale to up dog and exhale to down dog. Last flow. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, sweep between the hands. We rise, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, flip front palm and reverse. Exhale into triangle, straighten front leg, reach forward and tilt down. Bend the knees a little if you're working with an injury. Keep bending, come into extended side angle. You can bring the elbow to rest on the quad if that feels okay. Never rest on the knee, okay? Especially with a knee injury. You want to make sure that you're resting on the juicy part of the quad. Otherwise, the hand can come down to the floor. If your shoulders feel okay and you want to go for a half bind, you can reach behind you. Maybe you can grab your quad or rest the back of your hand on your lower back. Release your neck even more. So right ear to right shoulder, you're doing a good job there, Rosso. I noticed you doing that even before me. Hold here. Exhale, hands come down to frame the front foot, pivot onto your back toes, open into easy twist, arm over to the right. A couple of things you can do here for your wrist. Come into a fist is going to protect your wrist, or onto the tips of your fingers rather than dumping into your wrist onto the ground. Hands come down, frame the face, step back, flow, so high to low plank. Inhale to up dog and exhale to down dog. What you can see Ross is doing here is a great variation for your wrists as well. He's doing his chaturangas in a fist. This is really good if you get pain during extension in the wrist. Walking out the legs. Breath in, left leg up. Breath out, sweep through the hands. Get low in your crescent lunge. Rise up. Exhale, warrior two. Flip front palm, reach forward and reverse. Maybe there's a bind there, maybe not. For me, not today. Straighten that front leg, move through to triangle pose, reach forward and down, bending that knee if you're dealing with an injury here, lifting through top arm, relaxing neck and head. Extended side angle, maybe resting on the quad, come low. If you do have a knee injury, just don't go as deep into the knee and lift the toes on the front foot. Maybe you want to come down into the full variation, into flexibility, lowering the bottom hand. Maybe you want to come into a half bind or a full bind if you have it. If you have a shoulder injury, I'd recommend you just to stay with the arm lifted. Exhale, hands come down, pivot onto the back toes, open to the left, easy twist. Coming into a fist or your fingers here to make sure that the wrist is not dumping into floor and neck and head is also relaxed. Exhale, hands down, step back, high plank. I'm going to do my little variation of a cat-cow here. Breath in, look up dog. Breath out. I'll meet you back in downward facing dog. Pedaling out the legs here, taking a big breath. Inhale, the right leg rises up. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale to rise. Exhale, knee to left elbow. Option is to come onto your elbows here if you have shoulder injury. Inhale, the right knee up. Exhale to right elbow. Inhale to come up. Exhale to sweep through the hands, coming into your low lunge. Getting nice and steady through the legs. Rise up into crescent lunge. Exhale into warrior two. From here, extended side angle. We're going to go a little deeper. So for me, I'm with shoulder adaptions and knee adaptions. I'm going to stay here. For Ross, he's going to reach behind him and he's going to come into a full bind behind his back. From here, if you're with Ross, you're going to go into bird of paradise. So looking towards your front leg and stepping forward, coming up into your bird of paradise. If you're down here with me, you're going to work on rotating that top shoulder open, coming up onto the tips of fingers and relaxing neck and head. Coming down from your bird of paradise when you're ready, control, and we'll come into a plank together. Coming into a side plank, so moving onto your right hand and turning over towards the left. The variation of this is lowering the bottom knee and also the elbow. And from here, you can raise that top leg if you like, if you're working more on strength. Release neck and head and hold for 2. Looks like you're standing on my shoulder, Ross. I'm making pretty patterns. And exhale, lower the leg. Coming through your flow, you can have a one-legged chaturanga if you're with Ross. Otherwise, we're just going to do a little cat-cow. And then back into our downward facing dog. For the knee to nose variation, there's actually a more gentle option, which I'll do for this round to show you. And it's on your hands and your knees. So we're going to lift the left leg up. And we're going to exhale, knee to nose. Inhale to rise up. Exhale, knee to left elbow, hold. Inhale to rise up. And exhale, knee to right elbow, hold. Inhale up. Then exhale, sweep between the hands and coming into your crescent lunge, raise up. Exhale, warrior 2. Gaze to front middle finger. Exhale, extended side angle, taking your variation. So if you're coming into the bind, the hand comes behind you. Maybe you can come into a full bind. If you're in a full bind, coming into your bird of paradise with Rosso. Otherwise, just working on rotating that top shoulder open and just being mindful of any pain in the shoulder. Gently coming down. If you're in your bird, meet us back in the lunge. And then hands come down to frame the front foot. Step back into plank. Left hand comes into the center of the mat as we twist over towards the right. So I'm going to take the variation here. So my knee is on the floor, my shoulder's on the floor. I'm in my side plank. Maybe I lift that top leg if I want to work on more strength. Hold for another 3, for another 2, for another 1. Slowly come down, move through your flow. Ross might choose to do a one-legged chaturanga. If you're doing a variation, you'll just do a cat-cow or hold a plank. And then we'll meet in a downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here. Reaching the right leg up, breath in. Exhale, sweep between the hands. Now, we're coming into a low lunge here. If you're working with a knee injury, I'd like you to stay up. So you're going to open the chest, get long through the top of the head, and work on strength. If your knees are fine, you're going to lower that bottom knee, and we're going to come into a low lunge. So you lower the knee, Ross, and pat up the back knee. So I can't do that at the moment because my knee is injured. So you're going to come up. We're going to do the same thing, but down here. Interlace fingers onto the top of the quad, and I'm going to push into the quad and then pull the quad forward to deepen my stretch into the hip flexor. Here I'm working a bit more on strength because I'm up, and Ross is working more on flexibility. But up here, my knee is a lot safer from having any compression into the mat, into the patella. Have one more breath. Exhale, bring the hands to the floor. We're coming into half splits. So I'm going to stay up, and I'm going to come into a pyramid pose as a variation. So Ross is coming into half splits. I'm coming into pyramid, and keeping the same cues. The hips are square to the front of the room. We reach through the top of the head and exhale to fold over the front leg. Inhale, come back into your low lunge. So coming forward, Rosso, into your low lunge. Yeah. I'm going to stay up here. But Ross is on the knee, going into flexibility. Breath in. Breath out, back into your half split. So I'm coming into the pyramid version of this. Neck and head relaxed. Inhale back into your low lunge. Lizard pose. So walking the right foot over towards the right side of the mat. And here you can either come down onto your elbows if you have that flexibility. Ross is going to have his knee on the floor, but you notice that mine is not on the floor. So I'm working on strength here, and my knee is not on the mat, which is going to stop any injury if my knee is damaged. So this is a stronger version of the pose, but it's actually quite good if you do have a knee injury. Couple more breaths. Now the next version, you can lower the knee to the floor. Just see how that feels. Come up onto your hands. We're coming into a flying dragon. So the right hand comes onto the inside of the right hip. If you have a damaged knee, I'd avoid this pose, so you can just stay here and breathe. Otherwise, you can gently open the hip, look over your right shoulder, and try not to push onto the knee. So try to push into the quad, because if you push the knee in a direction where it doesn't like to go, it can lead to injury over time. Inhale back to center. And then coming into pigeon pose, I'm going to go onto figure 4 on my back. So Ross is going to take pigeon. I'm going to flip over and come into pigeon. So right side, make that figure 4 and reach through, grabbing the back of the leg or maybe the shin if you want to deepen the stretch. And I have a little story to read you in pigeon today, which is from a great book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So this is a story from 2,500 years ago in the Himalayan foothills of the present-day Nepal. There lived a great palace and a king who had a son. And the king had a great plan for this son. He would make the child's life perfect. The child would never know a moment of suffering. Every need, every desire would be accounted for at all times. So the king built high walls around the palace, and he prevented the prince from ever knowing what was going on in the outside world. He spoilt the child, lavishing him with food and gifts, surrounding him with servants who catered for him at every need. And just as he planned, the child grew up ignorant of the routine cruelties of human existence. All of the prince's childhood went on like this, but eventually the prince got depressed. So one late night, the prince snuck out of the palace to see what was going on behind the walls. For the first time in all his life, the prince saw human suffering. He saw sick people, old people, homeless people, and people dying. The prince blamed his father for everything that he had tried to do for him. It was his riches, the prince thought, that had made him so miserable, and that his life seemed so meaningless. So he gave up his royalty, all of his family, all of his possessions, and he lived in the streets, sleeping in the dirt like an animal. As he planned, the prince suffered greatly. He suffered through disease, hunger, pain, loneliness, and decay. He confronted the brink of death itself, and often limited to eating only a single nut a day. And I'll tell you the rest of the story on the other side. So slowly starting to rise up from your pigeon, coming out and stepping back into your down dog and pedaling out the legs. And we'll go to the other side. So inhale, the left leg rises up. Exhale, sweep between the hands. And I'm going to stay in this low lunge with my knee raised, and Ross is going to lower his knee and pat up the knee on the floor. I'm going to reach through the crown of the head so my chin tucks in towards my chest. I'm coming up on my fingers here so that my back is straight. For Ross, he's reaching forward. And then he'll come up into a lunge. So he's going to interlace his fingers and place it on his quad, push gently down into the quad, and then pull the hip forward to deepen the stretch. His hips are coming nice and low there because he's coming into flexibility. Here I'm working in flexibility but in strength. And it's a bit safer for my knee because my lower knee is not on the floor. But I'm not going to get the same flexibility training here. Exhale, hands come down to the floor, moving into half splits. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to fold. I'm coming into pyramid variation where I lower my back heel and my front heel, and I straighten both legs and try to square the hips towards the front of the mat. It's the same cues both for these positions. Inhale, bend through the knee, lengthen through chest, coming back into low lunge. You're doing great, Rosso. And exhale back into your half splits. So reach through the chest and exhale to fold. It's always a variation for all of these poses that you can do. Inhale, come back into your low lunge. And from here, we'll come into lizard. So walk that left foot over towards the left. Coming onto the hands, so your hands on the inside of the left foot, and the shoulder can be in line with the knee. Otherwise, you can come down onto your elbows. For me, I've got my back leg raised up. I'm coming from strength, whereas Ross is lowering that knee and he's going deeper into flexibility. This is a bit safer for me with a knee injury. It means that I'm not putting any pressure on the knee or the patella in any different positions. Have a couple of breaths here. This is also a good version if you want to work on strength more than flexibility. So you can choose what you want to work on. Gently lower that back knee. So option to stay here if you have a knee injury, otherwise coming into flying dragon. So coming up onto your hands and rotating, coming onto the outside edge of the left foot. Left hand comes into the inside of the thighs. You look over the left shoulder, coming deeper into this version. I'm doing a light version of it, but you can follow Ross. Bending into that supportive right elbow a little bit so that you're not dumping into your elbows. I can't see you, Ross, but I assume you're doing that. Inhale, coming back to center, and then moving onto pigeon on the left-hand side. So for me, because my knee is injured, I'm going to do figure 4 on my back. I'll just show you what that looks like so you can see. So the left foot is over the right, and then you're going to bring the right knee into chest, figure 4. So the harder you pull in that leg, the deeper it's going to be. And now you get to hear the other half of the story. So the prince began to notice that his life of suffering was not all that it was cracked up to be. It wasn't bringing him the insight he desired. It wasn't revealing any deeper mystery of the world or ultimate purpose. In fact, the prince came to know what the rest of us always have kind of known, that suffering kind of sucks. And it's not necessarily that meaningful either. As well as being rich, there is no value in suffering when it's done without purpose. As the legend goes, the confused prince sat under a tree for 49 days. And he thought about this existence and what philosophy could come up to explain this fact of life. One of those realizations he made was that life itself is a form of suffering. The rich suffer because of their riches. The poor suffer because of their poverty. People without family suffer because they have no family. People with a family suffer because of their family. People who pursue worldly pleasures suffer because of their worldly pleasures. And people who abstain from worldly pleasures suffer from the same thing. This isn't, so years later, the prince would build his own philosophy around this and share it with the world, and it would be the first of its kind. And he's saying that pain and loss are inevitable and that we should let go of trying to resist them. The prince would later become known as the Buddha. And in case you haven't heard of him, he's kind of a big deal. So gently when you're ready, pushing yourself up from your pigeon pose and stepping back into your downward facing dog and walking out the legs. Maybe moving the neck and head around a little bit, releasing the jaw. Look between your hands, gently bring your knees between your hands and we'll come onto our back, into our back bends. So lowering the lower back, middle back and upper back down onto the floor. Coming into bridge. So we're going to tickle the back of it back to our heels with our fingers. And I'd really recommend with knee injuries that you have a block. It's so important to engage here to make sure that you're actually engaging your muscles. We're going to place a block between the thighs. You can use a lunchbox or a really thick book if you're at home. Tickle the backs of those ankles again to the heels so you're in the right spot. Take a breath in to prepare. Exhale, lift the hips up. So we're coming up to the full extension here, and we're going to interlace our hands behind us and roll our shoulders under. So if you have a knee injury, I'd like you to flex your toes towards your shin, push your heels into the floor, and then if you pull back, you're going to be using the hamstrings. So just check in. If there's any pain in the knee, it's a sign that it's not right for you, whatever you're doing. So always listen to that. Keep squeezing the block. Wrap those glutes around the hips and the sacrum. Tilt the tailbone towards the heels. This is super active through quads and glutes. We'll stay for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Gently coming down, upper back, middle back, and lower back. Removing the block and windscreen wiping the legs from one side to the other. Second set, you have a few options. I'm going to give options to step it up or step it down. If you have a knee injury, you're going to do the same thing, or you can place the block actually underneath your sacrum, your lower back. This is a more restorative version where you're taking more of the weight with the block. You're going to stay active through the legs, or you can come up into a normal bridge. Now, if you're in this version and you want to take it further to half hero, not recommended for someone with a knee injury, so I'll do it on my right side. You're going to bring the foot onto the floor, so just the toes onto the floor, and you're going to feel this really strong hip opener through that right side. So I put my right foot down and just breathe into that space. So your shoulders here are taking the weight. The head is not getting crushed in the neck. So just be mindful that you're in the right spot. If you do have a knee injury, you won't be doing that. You'll just be staying in your bridge. If it hurts your knee to activate here, you can just have this more restful onto the block. So you can take it more restorative. Just listen to your body and what feels good. We'll gently come out. So we're going to lift that block up and slowly lower upper back, middle back, lower back to floor. And then windscreen wipe the legs. So both knees go to one side, breath into center, and breath out to the other side. Let's go to the other side. So bringing that block underneath the sacrum. And this time we'll be using the left knee. I'm not going to do it because my left knee is injured. I'm not sure if Ross has a block. But he's going to bring the knee back, bring the foot back so the top of the foot is resting on the floor and you're stretching through the hip flexor on the left. If you're not doing that because of an injury, you're just going to stay here. If you want to work on strength, you work on the glutes squeezing in, quad squeezing in, lift your toes so that these little muscles up the front of your shin turn on to protect your knee. It's called the tibularis, the fibularis anterior and tibularis. They're really important muscles for knee protection, and you can activate them when you lift your toes. Stay for 2 more breaths. To come out, we're going to remove that block, slowly lower upper back, middle back, lower back to floor, and windscreen wipe the legs. Now the last option is you can take wheel if I know some of you practice that, so you're welcome to take it. And I will just be going into one more bridge. And I'll do that again with the block. So we'll come up for 10 breaths. Option to come into wheel if you want to. So inhale to prepare and exhale to lift up. Interlace the fingers behind the back, push them into the floor, roll the shoulders open, and focus on those glutes activation. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly lower down. Another option instead is butterfly pose, feet together, knees apart. Not the best option if your knees are injured. If your knees are injured, knees together, feet apart, much safer for your knees. Now taking an inversion of your choice, if you're working on anything more energetic like handstands or pincher or anything like that, please do. We're going to come into shoulder stand. So a restful shoulder stand called waterfall, you can put the block under your sacrum and then just lift your legs up and flex your feet towards your face. Sometimes I like to hold the back of my legs to feel supported. Otherwise, full shoulder stand. Ross is just hanging out in waterfall. You're not going to do Can you do shoulder stand? I'll do it. It's okay. It's fine for me, actually. You're such a bad model.
So the feet are up. I'm going to make sure that I'm not just hanging out here and everything's saggy. It's all zipped together and squeezed together. I'm going to point my feet to the roof, which is a weird word, but it's between pointing and flexing. It's halfway. Squeeze glutes, squeeze quads. Plow pose, flex the feet, and they're going to come over your head, behind your head, if you can. Today it's not happening for me, and that's fine. I have days when I can't. If your feet are not flat on the floor, hold your lower back and stay here. If your feet are flat on the floor, you can place your hands behind you with palms facing down. Bend the knees is an option to come into defiant man's pose, so bringing the knees towards the ears. Maybe if they're next to the ears, putting pressure against the ears. To come out, we're going to place the hands behind us like brakes, push into the floor, and slowly lower down. Now when you're coming onto the floor, you can lay out both of your legs flat on the floor. Inhale to prepare. And we're coming into fish. So we're going to roll our hands underneath our glutes so that from the roof, you could barely see your shoulders or your hands. We're going to flex the toes towards the roof. And we're going to bend the elbows, chin towards chest, bend the elbows and look towards our feet first, and then relax the head and neck back. Emily, this is probably not a good one for you. You can sit this one out. Now when you're up, point your toes. This is a counter stretch for your shoulder stand. So your neck is going in an opposite direction to what we were doing in compression. Now flex your feet, look towards your toes, straighten your arms coming down from fish onto the floor. Supine twist. Exhale, bringing the right knee in towards the chest. If you have a knee injury, just seeing how that feels. Maybe you don't go as deep if the knee is hurting. Exhale, bringing the knee over the top of the body. Maybe if your knee is healthy, you're gently helping that knee towards the floor. The shoulders both stay on the floor, and the neck is just neutral to the roof. There's no need to create more compression in the neck at this point. Inhale, coming back to center. Straightening both legs and making sure that lower back comes onto the floor to feel supported in the lower back. Exhale, the left knee comes in towards chest. This is where my knee's a bit damaged, so I'm not coming in as deep. And then exhale over the top of the body, bringing the knee towards the right side. You can actually place a block underneath the knee on the floor so that it doesn't go so far. That's actually a nice variation to avoid any knee injury. What we're trying to avoid is a rotation of the knee. If you've done a ligament, it's most likely going to be one of the ligaments which is in a rotational movement. So as long as the knee is straight, can be a lot better for injury. Inhale back to center. And we'll bend the knees and lower that lower back into the floor. Maybe taking a happy baby is your last pose today. So grabbing the outsides of the legs and bringing the knees in towards armpits. If you have a knee injury and that feels bad, then don't do it. Otherwise, you're welcome to pull gently on the outsides of the feet and bring the knees in towards armpits. And push the lower back into the floor. Maybe there's a little rock from side to side, if that feels good. Taking any last movements that you feel that you need today. Otherwise, when you're ready, you can come into your savasana, your final resting pose of the day. So just getting totally comfortable and making any last movements that you feel you need to feel totally relaxed. If you have a knee injury, what is often really nice if you do have a bolster, to place a bolster underneath the knees so that they're bent. But because my left knee is injured, what I'm going to do is place a block underneath my left knee because it's going to be bent and supported now rather than straight. And that feels a lot better for my knee. And now giving yourself the opportunity to totally relax. Because you're at home, you're welcome to stay here a little longer if you wish, to make the most out of your shavasana. If you wish to come out with us, then gently start to wiggle the fingers and toes, maybe creating space between the teeth and moving the jaw around a little, noticing if you were clenching. Taking a breath in, reaching hands overhead and stretching from tips of fingers to bottoms of toes. Exhale, the knees come into the chest. Maybe giving yourself a big hug. Pushing that lower back into the floor. Maybe some little rocks if that feels good. On your next exhale, rolling onto your favorite side and using your bottom arm as a pillow. Keeping the eyes closed and the knees bent. Gently helping yourself to a comfortable seated position. If you do have a knee injury, you can keep your knees bent or place a bolster under the knees. And we'll finish the class bringing hands to heart center and taking the message from the Buddha that often people can feel that it's quite a negative thing, the message from yoga and the Buddha that life is a place of suffering. But the point is actually quite positive, that things will go wrong and you will suffer. And this is because humans have a frontal cortex that reasons and finds issues with pretty much anything life gives us. But what's also cool about our brain is that we can rewire ourselves to be more positive through focusing on gratefulness and through reasoning that we will have times in life when we are unhappy and we will suffer, and that is okay. We cannot change it, but we can flow with it and know that we go through bad times, but also that these times will end. Another philosophy of him is the philosophy of impermanence, which means that the moment that you're in now will never last forever. So if you are suffering now, it will never last forever. It will always change. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed the class tonight and all the little adaptions. If you ever need it, this class will be on the library if you forget. And I hope you found some of the adaptions may be useful for you or someone you know who thinks they can't do yoga because we do crazy things. There's always an adaptation, and when you injure yourself, it's our best teacher about how we can adapt our practice to still do a power class but slightly differently. Yeah, thanks guys, and I will see you on Saturday. Thanks to our model.